Welcome to EPG Pathshala. The module that we are going to discuss today is on feminist social work practice, and the key concept is reflexivity. This is part of the course on gender and social work. I am Dr. Shuli Kumar, Associate Professor in School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. The topics that will be discussed in this module will be the need for feminist reflection and reflexivity, theories for reflection and reflexive practice, reflexivity, a critical approach, process and design of a reflection model of practice, key principles of reflexive practice, and a summary. In feminist practice, why do we need to have reflection and reflexivity? Feminist practice needs to ensure that there is a dispelling of power and hierarchy whilst addressing women's problems and issues. Now, what is important for us to remember is that as social workers, we are also embedded within these powers and hierarchies within the societal framework. We belong to specific class groups, caste groups, religious groups, and with that backgrounder, we are also belonging to certain privileged situations. Therefore, reflection is required. Social workers need to go through consistent introspection of self and ensure a level playing ground while working with women as equal participants in the process of developing agency and action. As social workers, we are constantly in a mode where we want to help people. We feel that women need a helping hand, and when we do that, we come from a power position, and that is something that we need to guard against. Reflection and reflexivity enables us to do that, because once we interrogate where am I coming from? What is my positionality? Is it the same as the woman with whom I am working with? Am I trying to tell her what to do, or am I trying to understand what she wants to do? Are two different aspects that reflection can bring about. And feminist practice then becomes extremely important and organic. As a person, as a professional social worker, we also need to often interrogate the power that we bring into such relationships. And that is something that is extremely difficult to achieve, and therefore this module talks about certain theoretical premises which enable us to question ourselves and also enable us to develop strategies to do reflection and reflexivity. Some of the theories that which underlie the approaches of reflection and reflexivity are postmodernist theories, which have come about as a response to the ways in which theory has been articulated so far. This stream of thought emerged out of the unhappiness of systemic marginalization of specific groups, ideas, behaviors, and sexualities. This is also a reaction to a stringent articulation of certain theoretical frameworks which do not address the needs, problems, and issues of left out groups and people. So, for example, people with different sexual orientations beyond the binary of male and female have never been incorporated into the ways in which they would like the world to be or understand the world to be. And there are no theorizations which address these kind of complexities. And so postmodernist thoughts say that theoretical frameworks also need to be unpacked, and newer ways of looking at theory and newer ways of looking at realities need to be consistently and iteratively brought forth, which means that hegemonies of thoughts, hegemonies of realities, hegemonies of say heteronormativity as a idea should be deconstructed. So postmodernist thought places emphasis on the thought, the process, and the experience, not as a given but as an interactive with the outside world. So there is a consistent dialogical process which it emphasizes in the theoretical processes. Therefore, these kind of theories enable continuous reshaping of self as well as the hegemonies of ideas. Now when I talk of reshaping of self, it means that there is a discomfort and dissonance that needs to be first ignited within the self, to say that I am not always right. I'm not thinking the right ways. I'm probably not allowing the person in front of me to talk or think what their ideas are. I'm probably using my power and my hegemony of ideas is what the social worker, feminist social worker is and needs to do when it comes to reflective practice. And postmodernist theories enable us to do this. In other words, deconstruction and rethinking of realities and theories as well as of self is something that postmodernist theories allow us to take forward. Postmodernist thinking is questioning of linear, that is progressive and unified one truth thinking. Postmodernist theories enable feminists to challenge hegemony and challenge stereotypical ideas about race, caste, gender and class. This means breaking of realities as understood within systemic constructs. That is, that we start engaging with people, institutional systems and larger worlds outside, and try to understand why they think the way they think, why they want to retain power, why do they want to retain their hegemony, and start deconstructing these realities in different ways. Deconstruction also involves the understanding the role of dominant discourses in the ways it shapes power and knowledge. So for example, if I want to look at the bureaucratic system of administration, I would like to deconstruct it by trying to see how does it allocate power to different stakeholders within the system, and why does it do so? How do people think that power enables them to keep the hierarchy in place? I would also like to understand, therefore, that what will enable me to deconstruct and make it less hierarchical, make it more flat a structure. So in both ways, that deconstruction, therefore, deconstructive thinking and dialoguing helps us to bring about or think of possible ways of change. What is critical here in the end is reflection of the self as well as the other. So when we critique these binaries of differences, when we critique these, when we try to bring in these diversities, the dissonance that occurs, we also need to engage with it. So it can be in language, it can be, questioning the dominant language. It can be in terms of, the ways in which we engage or communicate with each other, how the institutional structures make rules and norms within it. All these can be engaged with, and newer dimensions added to it to make that a more flat structure or reduce hierarchies. For example, feminist theories of gender have been able to expand and bring in intersectionalities of race, gender and class, and further into real lived experiences of people and their marginalization in specific contexts. So this very well informs social work practice and more in form of feminist practice in terms of engaging in the field. How does feminist analysis and postmodernism really come together? There were two contradictory streams that appeared in feminist thought, one which espoused the methods of not accepting dichotomies and categories as existing realities, and other that brought in newer categories and hence began to contradict whatever dichotomies were being engaged with in the earlier stream. So these two contradictions also brought in interesting dissonance, engagement, debate and newer ways of doing feminist work. The third stream interestingly said that these differences are here to stay and it's important not to have uniform categories. It is all right to have these differences, but also bring them in the forefront so that they don't remain invisible, and so that we are able to explain why certain people are being discriminated against, why certain people are being marginalized, and therefore how do I engage as a social worker, and more specifically as a feminist social worker, to bring about change in these kind of marginalizations, discrimination and hierarchies that exist in these different specific ways. So in many ways, feminist analysis and postmodernisms become complementary and co-creative, because when we work in the field, there are discourses that are brought forth by the people themselves that then informs the theoretical constructions that feminist analysis and postmodernist analysis can be engaged with. So newer theories and newer action all the time keep going together parallelly and in an iterative process. Both postmodernist and third world feminists bring in the dimension of difference and diverse the category of women as sameness, and that is very critical, specifically for again the South Asian nations who were and are still at times called as the third world nations. They bring in the category of women of color as well as third world women, lesbians and many others. The most critical aspect of postmodernist thought is that it enables feminisms to bring together women for a common cause at the same time, and also celebrate the differences depending on the context of the issues facing them as well as the politics of their own positionalities. For example, going back to the Dalit women's movement, on the one hand, Dalit women's movement bring in the specifics of violence faced by Dalit women in different locations, in different parts of the country. And they engage with violence in a very different way. But at the same time, when there is a larger movement to look at violence against women as an all-pervasive phenomena in the country, they come together as a cohesive whole with the larger women's movement. And in that, they bring in specific issues of Dalit women's issues. So in their own positionality as Dalit women, they bring in those kind of discourses, and the larger women's movement in terms of violence in public spaces, sexual harassment in public spaces, they also engage with those, because as women, they too are facing similar situations. So that is how postmodernist thought has informed the ways in which women's movement and feminist work in countries like India can be engaged with. Postmodernist thought has also enabled feminists to break the barriers of oppressive structures. Postmodernist thought has always questioned hierarchies and hegemonies, and that thought has therefore enabled and emboldened feminists to say that these structures at different levels and different points of time within the household, within the community, within the state institutions and within the marketplaces also need to be done away with. So when one researches, when one looks at power structure and examines and analyzes them, it is also brought into in the collective strategies of action and change. So it gives us ideas as to how do we strategize, which power to engage with, at what point of time, at what level and where one is able to therefore develop new strategies and new ways of working and enabling feminist action. So postmodernist thought has a rich repository of theories which continuously are informing the ways in which feminist practice is done in the ground. So, for reflective practice, there are 5 key points that can be kept in mind by feminist social workers. Consistent engagement with self as a practitioner, theory analysis and intervention strategies with individuals as well as at the collective levels. The acceptance of the fact that domination of idea is both personal, that is me and myself as a practitioner, as well as structural. So whilst I as a person may have certain dominating ideas, at the same time there are structural oppressive structures which need to be engaged with. And as practitioners, one is very much part of this domination. That is something we need to keep it as a real situation. And therefore, as a practitioner, we need to guard against this domination as much as it informs the person with whom one is working with. Often individuals as well as collective groups imbibe their secondary and marginalized status due to structures of societal oppression over the years of denial and cultural deprivation. So the notion of victimhood or being accepting the oppressions that are inflicted upon them may be there and may be embedded in them over so many years. But at the same time, as practitioners, we need to recognize that and we need to engage with the same with different strategies. We need to enable the oppressed to articulate these oppressions. We need to enable them to also understand these oppressions are not a myth and a making of their own. It is because of the structural violence that is all pervasive. So enabling them to move from the victimhood towards agency and survivorship is the ways in which a feminist practitioner needs to work forward, and therefore reflection is very critical. Otherwise we'll accept their victimhood and be more in the helping process rather than in the reflective and agency development process of the persons or collectives that we are working with. Significant to critical reflection is the shift from victim blaming as well as system blaming, and recognizing that individual and organization or system co-construct each other. Therefore, there are possibilities of a change for both self and the organization. So therefore, that means that individual and collectives are extensions of each other. They impact each other and they need to co-construct and co-relate with each other in different ways, and they are in equal partnership. So creating a space in terms of moving the oppressed towards agency, and also constantly guarding and engaging with self to ensure that dominant discourses and dominant hegemonic strategies are not being replicated in this process, and also ensuring that organizational change and self both come together in a iterative and co-construction kind of a relationship. On the other hand, reflexivity is more of the practitioner's responsibility. Reflexivity is one's ability to recognize that all aspects of our context, influences, and the ways in which we create knowledge, research, or work with issues of inequality and deprivation has to be in a process. It cannot be seen as existing. It has to be engaged with. The efforts are directed towards recognizing and affirming that all conversation and communication is knowledge, and this conversation and this knowledge creation is embodied, social, reactive, and interactional. Reflexivity is useful in critical reflection for awareness of ourselves as practitioners and researchers, as well as focus on assumptions about knowledge and its creation and movement towards transformative practice. Some key principles for reflection and reflexive practices are the importance of dialogue and a communicative process for learning, a focus on interaction between individual and society, individual reflection in the societal context, as well as reflection that includes both individual and social responsibility, the importance of context, culture, and climate in supporting reflection. That is, tools and techniques are seen as a way to create the appropriate culture, not necessarily as a main defining feature of critical reflection. Process and outcome are both intertwined. They are not separate. The importance of developing a culture that separates a process that allows open-ended outcomes. The outcomes cannot be finalized before the interaction. It can come out on its own. The importance of making and maintaining direct connections between theory and practice, an inclusive approach to outcomes and theories, a recognition of an importance of multiple and diverse perspectives. That is the key to reflection and reflexive practices. Some key steps for reflective feminist practice are working with women in small groups, wherein the common grounds of each participant are well defined on the basis of their experiences. Within the groups, Various participatory methodologies can be adopted which are creative and interactive, like story writing, poetry, group work, wherein individual expressions are encouraged, but social worker has to consistently locate individual differences and standpoints, including her or his own. Using critical reflective questioning as a tool for engaging participants, which is non-threatening and which also enables every person, every individual, every woman to talk about their own realities. So it means unpacking and recreating new possibilities, which is very creative process. Working through with participants to unsettle the fundamental assumptions is something that is critical to reflexive and reflective practice that are implicit in their context and are part of the hegemonic world. Developing ideas from earlier examples of specific and concrete practice successful experiences, working towards collaborative processes of action and change from group work and individual work. A commitment to focusing on hidden and taken for granted is something that's key to reflective practice. The importance in learning of personal experience, direct, specific and concrete, taken from one's own experience. The importance of individual participants' perspective is significant in presenting the initial account of practice, in focusing on meaningful assumptions and changed practices and approaches. So what is critical in the key steps is, one, to understand and unpack the individual's own assumptions, which some of them may be hegemonic in the process of the practice, and at the same time enabling the engagement of the individual with the larger group, so that she or he is able to understand and develop the skill of listening to newer nuances and newer experiences of other group members. So that enhances the individual's engagement with the group, as well as flags what the individual's own experience has been. In itself, it unpacks realities of both the individual as well as the group. So the collaborative processes for action, then the next step that can be taken forward, includes the diversities of these experiences and then brings forward change processes which are creative and which are again co-created. Group work ensures that the group grows, gets empowered, gets also understands diversities in their own ways, and also flags these diversities in the next step of actions that the feminist social worker will probably facilitate for change in the societal transformatory processes. And a significant example can be about how women human rights defenders from Manipur came together with women human rights defenders from Dalit movement, and how they brought in their own realities of oppression in different contexts, and then came together into a larger consultative processes, demanding that the UN recommendations and UN legal frameworks for protection of women human rights defenders need to be adhered together, and laws framed to ensure that they are not victimized at home, they are not facing violence by state actors, and they are not facing violence at the community levels. These are the common concerns that the women human rights defenders were able to bring through and bring forth in the national consultative processes. So there are many, despite the fact that Dalit women's realities is very different from the Meitei and the tribal women's realities in Manipur. So how this can be done is something that feminist social work practitioners can do through reflective feminist engagements. In summation, in this module, the theoretical frameworks of postmodernism and critical reflection that has been discussed in detail. These are key perspectives that inform feminist social work practice and are the key components for developing the method and praxis. Reflexivity is the process that begins with the social worker herself and himself, wherein there is a consciousness of where he is in the beginning and how she takes forward this work and intervenes. This is very hard to achieve. It requires a great deal of possibilities of self-reflection. It also requires creating consciously a dissonance within oneself if there are certain dominant discourses or hegemonic discourses within oneself. For example, if I am an upper caste woman practitioner working with Dalit women's issues, I need to unpack the caste within myself. I need to also throw away this notion of what is right and wrong. I need to also throw away and at the same time constantly reflect that am I being the spearheader in this particular situation, because consciously I need to facilitate the leadership of the Dalit women themselves. I cannot be a leader of a Dalit women's movement is something that I need to flag all the time and reflect on all the time. So the capacity to delve within oneself, be aware of one's own social context, and accepting that the same influences the knowledge creation is a major part of this kind of a reflexivity. Reflective practice enables the process towards reflexivity as postmodern theories open up the ideas of multiple realities. There is no one truth is something that postmodernist theories really bring to the forefront and break the binary of all understanding of the social phenomena. So that is what extensively postmodernist theories do to us, and this particular module attempts to bring that to the forefront, to say there is no one reality, there is no one truth, and there is no one way that feminist social workers can work with women's issues, especially diverse women's issues and their specific context. Some of the references which can enable you to engage with these concepts and theories are Chandra Talpade's book Feminism Without Borders excellently brings through how third world women's realities and the diversities therein are significant. Fuchs' book on practicing critical reflection is excellent to bring about and tell us how to practice reflection and how to do reflexivity and how to engage with the critical theories to bring about change in the ways in which we work with women. The other possible reader can be Scone's book on educating the critically reflective practitioner, which has excellent is an excellent resource for her to think about reflective feminist work. Please do look at these resources for further reference and understanding of reflexivity. Thank you.